back-to-back champs. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. LA loves a sequel, as do us here on the Flex Zone Podcast, your home, giving you sports how you want them when you need it, and talking about the greatest World Series of all time, especially since 2001, as the Los Angeles Dodgers go back-to-back, repeat as World Series champions, the first team to do so since the Yankees from 1998 through 2000, who won 3 in a row. Now, could the Dodgers do it possibly 3 times in a row? They could. They could. We could be sitting here this time next year talking about the same narrative of them doing such a thing. The first National League team to do it since the Big Red Machine. No, not Kane. The Cincinnati Reds of 75 and 76. What can you say about the Dodgers? Love them, hate them. Talk about the money they spend. Talk about the money the players make. Talk about the names they bring in. Each one of those guys, they check their egos at the door. They play for the name on the front, not the name on the back. The ownership, Mark Walter, President and CEO Stan Kasten, President of Baseball Operations, who's done a marvelous job since coming in, because people just see the money that the Dodgers spend and don't realize what he has bought into this team with scouting, development, making the right moves at the trade deadline, bringing in the right free agents to most degrees. Obviously, yes, they spend the money and that ownership gives them, being out in LA, highest payroll in baseball, but they also have included things like analytics and research and development. But then you got a guy at manager, the best manager maybe I've seen in the last 10 years, outside of maybe Bruce Bochy, especially when it comes to the playoffs. The one, the only Doc Roberts, they call him, Dave Roberts, former Red Sox player. Remember, he was on that team that came down from 03, the only team to come back from that deficit in baseball history against the Yankees. He then takes and has a big hit in that series, a double, I believe, wins a World Series there. Then he becomes the manager of the Dodgers. 2020, they win in the COVID-shortened season. They don't get to celebrate. They don't get a parade. Okay, people are questioning that. People are saying, oh, that doesn't count. Then last year, they dominated. They dominated the Yankees in 5 games. The World Series walk-off grand slam in game 1 by freaky Freddie Freeman, who's going to Cooperstown. Then you look at the game 5 bullpen effort that they created with this team to get the World Series championship when their starters last year were not good. Their starters were beleaguered, and it was kind of an opposite this year where their starters were out of this world, which we're going to get to. And the bullpen was a weakness. And people were saying, well, if we can get to the bullpen, we can get to them. But the bullpen rose to the occasion, and they got it done to go back-to-back. But Dave Roberts, the best manager in baseball, knows how to press the right buttons, trust his players, instills confidence in them, doesn't call them out in front of the media, knows how to get in their ass and lean on them when he needs to and do the right things and motivate his players. Guys like Magic Johnson, wherever Magic goes and that beautiful smile, his teams win. His teams produce. You look at the Dodgers. Like I said, last year they got it done. This year, people were calling them the greatest team of all time. People were saying, oh, they're going to win and maybe break the record of the Seattle Mariners of most wins in an MLB season. No, they didn't do that. Yeah, they had some struggles. There was a point where they were playing the Ravens in Baltimore. Oh, the Ravens. They were playing the Orioles in Baltimore, and they were on the brink of being walked down by the San Diego Padres, and they were within a game of them. I think they were even tied at one point. And they won that last game of the series against Baltimore because that was 21-31 weekend where the Orioles had the epic comeback against Yamamoto when he was about to throw a no-hitter, and they had a walk-off. They blew him out on Sunday. They kind of got it together. They won the division. And remember, this dates back to last postseason. It was game 3, which they lost, and they were on the brink of elimination heading into game 4 and having game 5 as well. They were actually on the road for game 5 in San Diego. So they were down 2 games to San Diego, 2 games to 1 on the brink of elimination last year, came back, won that. Then they go on to win the World Series. I said once they beat San Diego last year and they came back from 2-1 and then they won that first game with that walk-off, I knew it was their time. And then, like I said, you look at this team, and as we look at the bracket here, the World Series champions back-to-back, I mean, what can you say? What can you say about this team? Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the World Series MVP, pitches 2 days in a row, and I don't think most people realize how hard that is to do? How hard is it to pitch back-to-back days as a starting pitcher, to be able to be stretched out and loosened up, to be able to go out there and throw multiple pitches? He not only pitched one inning, not two innings, but three shutout innings with pressure, bases loaded, going through Vladdy, going through Bichette, going through the heart of that Toronto lineup, which hats off to Toronto. They were great. They are an up-and-coming team. Nobody saw them in the World Series this year. They made some really good moves at the trade deadline. In the bullpen, Varland, getting Sir Anthony Dominguez, obviously signing Jeff Hoffman in the offseason, giving Vlad his money and paying him as he appropriately deserves as well. And I really, really think that what they did is their young guys really leveled up. Their young guys really got it going for them. And to a degree, they were the catalyst. They had the best lineup. They had an identity. They were a tough out. They worked each pitch and account. They made you work for everything because they out hit. They out pitched. They out clutch hit it. They hit better in runners in scoring position. They out homered the Dodgers in this series. But the heart of a champion, the grit of a champion, that championship DNA of being able to have that clutch gene, that's what the Dodgers had and Yamamoto had. He was great in the Brewers series. He was great throughout this season, and he was worth every penny. They actually started the season in Tokyo. So all the travel, all the back and forth with that. And you think about the game of baseball where, yes, 2027 could be a potential for a lockout. Yeah, there could be a potential for work stoppage, which I don't know if that's going to happen, but it is a potential to happen. So we don't know what's going to happen with that, and we'll see what happens there with that potential of them having that happen in 2027. But the Dodgers, they say they're ruining baseball. I think what they're actually doing is they're bringing in new eyes. They're bringing in new fans. They're bringing in new people that are looking into the game of baseball as, wow, this is entertaining. This is not boring. You got the people from Japan. You got the people from the Dominican Republic. You got the people from Latin America. You got the people from all of the places in South America. You have obviously people here in the USA. You got Canada. You're in Toronto playing in a whole nother country. They're looking for their first championship in 30 plus years. So when you have something like that happen, it brings new eyes. It brings new interest. You get 7 games. You had that epic, was that game 3 where they went 18 innings and then Freddie other walk-off home run? I mean, because game 1, Blue Jays washed the Dodgers 11-4. They washed them 11-4. It is what it is. They look like they were ready. And then I said, I picked the Dodgers before the season, like a lot of people. No surprise there. And I said, hey, you got to beat them 4 times. Not once, not twice, not even 3 times. You got to beat them 4 times. You got to get 27 outs each game. Game 1, they lost 11-4. Game 1, they came back and dominated 5-1. Then the Dodgers beat the Blue Jays in a nip and tuck game 3, which we talked about, the epic 18-inning game, which ended up being a 6-5 victory for the Dodgers. Blue Jays then come back, beat the Dodgers 6-2 and 6-1. So they pretty much washed them in their own stadium. But the Dodgers do their best work on the road. They won the last, 2 championships on the road? 2020 was held in Texas because of the COVID pandemic. But the last year, losing to the Padres, they had to go on the road, beat them in Game 5. Last year, they beat the Yankees in Game 5 in Yankee Stadium. This year, they beat Toronto in Game 7 in Toronto. And like I said, Game 6, coming back, the Dodgers eke it out 3-1. The Blue Jays, like I said, had bases loaded twice, once in the bottom of the 9th. Then last night, they were up 2 outs away, give up the home run. Then it goes to 11 innings, and they end up falling. Like I said, John Schneider, Kevin Don Mattingly, former Dodgers manager on that staff, the pieces they bought in, Max Scherzer was great. Like I said, Varland, Dominguez, Clement, just Vlad. Like I said, these guys, Bo Bichette, who's a free agent, he's going to get a lot of dough this offseason. So I don't know if he'll be back. But you see what the Blue Jays did. They beat the Yankees. You know what I mean? They beat the Mariners in an epic Game 7. This playoffs was really, really good, especially on the American League side when you look at the Blue Jays Mariners series and even the Dodgers Phillies and the Cubs Brewers, because the Cubs Brewers went 5. The Dodgers Phillies went 4, but that epic, what was that, walk-off where it hit the pitcher, it hit the ball to the pitcher, the slow roller, and he made a egregious error, a brain fart, throwing it to the catcher, and it just was a miscue, and he could have just went to first, ruining their season because the Phillies probably were one of the best teams in the league. They don't get it done. This is the Dodgers era. This is what they do. But you just look at the team. Shohei Ohtani, we know how great he is. He didn't even pitch his best. He didn't even really have much of an imprint on a lot of this series, but they found a way to win, and he got on base even a couple of times yesterday. Will Smith, you look at him with the game-winning home run, the go-ahead home run. Will Smith in LA How ironic. What a way to go out. And you think about it, you look at him. How many innings did he catch the other night? 18, all 18 of them, over 700. Then he catches another 11 tonight. The most innings catch in a postseason, most innings catch in a series. Boy, that brother needs a break. He needs to ice up, son. He needs a cold tub. He needs some nice massages and some R&R with the umbrella in his drink, because that brother put in a lot of work on both sides of the ball. Then you look at Freddie Freeman, Freaky Freddie. He's clutch as it gets. Walk off in 18 innings. Walk off World Series Grand Slam, game one last year. What hasn't he done? Magic Johnson said the most humble superstar in the game of baseball. I wouldn't argue with him. Family driven, community driven. Was tied to Atlanta, won a championship there. Now gets his third ring overall. Headed to Cooperstown. Clutch, great defense at first base. Some of the picks, some of the saves he made at first base, covering the bag. You just think about, like I said, the adjustment. It took a little bit of time for him, and he got adjusted to LA. And once he got adjusted and got going, and people were pitching around Mookie Betts, who didn't even have his best series, but he got on base and made a fantastic play to end the game on that double play, moving from right field, being a Gold Glove caliber right fielder, to being a Gold Glove caliber shortstop with some of the plays he made in this series and throughout the playoffs. You wouldn't think he just went there this year. And like I said, with Freddie, real quick, he's clutch. He's humble. His son was going through an ailment. He came through that, battled last year. They won it. Do it again this year. Magic Johnson loves him. He's taught to Magic, learn how to close and really deal with the pressure and expectations. Like you said, when you put on that jersey, you're expected to win. The Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, even with now, teams like the Phillies, you're expected to win. So you have to not only expect to perform well, but you're expected to win. And they did just that. They won, and they did a hell of a job in doing so with the team. You have to look at this team, and like I said, you go to Max Muncy, the most home runs in Dodger history. I mean, think about some of the names they've had, because since what, 88, they hadn't won a championship. They were in a drought. So they get it in 2020. People say it doesn't count. They get the last two. Now they have 9, tied with the Red Sox in athletics, which I didn't know, only behind the Cardinals with 11, and of course the Yankees with 27, which I don't think will ever be caught in my lifetime. Even if the Dodgers do win another 2, 3, 4, which I think could happen. Like I said, they could win it again next year, which I think they're favorite. Ohtani's under contract. Freeman, Betts. Obviously, they're not getting any younger, but they're going to probably spend money this offseason what they need to address. Last year, they did it. They needed starters. They go get Blake Snell, who I loved, won it for the Orioles. He goes to the Dodgers. Yamamoto, Sasaki moving to the bullpen, being a closer. You think about that. Now, they added Tanner Scott, who wasn't even on the roster. He was hurt and banged up. But if that's the case, if that's what we're going to do, then they're going to add bullpen depth this offseason. Training wasn't what he was. Banda what it wasn't what. So a lot of those guys in the bullpen will need to be upgraded and replaced if they're going to go back. I'm not going to lie. They're going to have to up that bullpen and really, really get it right. But, the Dodgers going through the Phillies, going through the Brewers, washing them in 4 games, then getting to really be tested by the Blue Jays. Teoscar Hernandez didn't have a great series, but boy, is he one of the best 4th or 5th options in Major League Baseball. Plays good defense, a leader, does it with power, can get on base. Just a wonderful signing. I'm glad they brought him back, part of that culture. You got Tommy Edman, who was banged up, couldn't even play his best defense in center field, but gutted it out, made plays, and even had an RBI yesterday. And then you bring in Andy Pages. Like I said, Dave Roberts pressing the right buttons, putting him in center field. He makes the over-the-shoulder catch, knocking down his own teammate, Kiki Hernandez, who probably was trying to do a Willie Mays, probably wouldn't have caught the ball. And then you look at it, if Edman was in the game with the banged up bum ankle, he probably wouldn't have been able to get to the ball in time like Pages. Pages says, I'm doing whatever it takes to get this ball. That means I knock my own player out, give him a concussion. He probably did. Hernandez said he was okay. He caught the ball. What a play that was. I thought that ball was going to drop. I thought it was either going to drop or it was going to hit the wall. And it ran out of room. Toronto Stadium is a little weird. The ball carries, but it also dies sometimes right at that wall warning track area. But I mean, Miggy Rojas, what can we say? Former Marlin shortstop starter who was on his last leg, gets to the Dodgers, and now reinvigorated. They bring him in. Like Mookie even said in the postgame, I didn't expect him to hit a home run. We thought he could do something, but we didn't expect that. And we were just taken back and surprised. We weren't even expecting that. We were just trying to get on base and live to fight another batter to get Ohtani up, because Ohtani wasn't scheduled to get another opportunity. So he hits the home run, and boy, oh boy, I had the Mariners get into the World Series, and they were kind of a live and die by the home run, and they died. The Blue Jays just when they needed to last night, and even in Game 6, couldn't get that hit that they usually got during the year. Best team running with hitters with runners in scoring position. Best team with runners on, batting average. Better, one of the best teams in home runs, OPS. So they did a great job there with that. So when you look at this team, it's what can you say? Like I said, I think they saved baseball, brought in new fans, made it exciting. I think it's the world's greatest World Series ever, potentially. Like I said, especially since at least 2001. And you look at this team, could they go three-peat? It's possible. And I'm sure, you know, they're going to be the favorite. Like I said, the Padres need a manager. The Rockies suck. The Giants bringing a manager from college. Who else in it? The Diamondbacks were banged up, and they got to the World Series once, but are they going to be able to get back there? So you got to look at their division alone. They're going to be favored. Otani's not going anywhere. Yamamoto's not going anywhere. Sasaki and Freeman and Betts and all these guys aren't going anywhere. Hernandez. It was great. And you look at the pitching, like I said, Otani, Roblowski, Glasnow, who they bought in this offseason, a wonderful pickup. And him and Snell were hurt most of the year, but it kind of worked out in their favor because they were banged up. They didn't have to pitch a lot of innings. So you get into the playoffs, you get into October, into November, and they were fresh. They were still throwing under 100 innings. So they were like, this would be April or May. They were still in their prime position of freshness when it comes to pitching. Like I said, it was literally they had probably thrown less than 100 innings all season. So you get to October, they're fresh as a daisy, and they're ready to go 9 innings or pitch back-to-back days or pitch over 110 pitches. Like the old school. We don't see that anymore. That's how baseball used to be. Guys will go out there, pitch 110 pitches, and they'd be available the next day if they need to. Whatever it takes to get the job done and get the World Series championship. Like I said, Blake Snell, Sheenan, Glasnow, Clayton Kershaw, can't forget him. I mean, if you're watching the video, you made it this long, thank you. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. I'm ranting, but Clayton Kershaw, what a way to end his career. The greatest Dodger of all time, I'll say. He's up there, if not the greatest. Vin Scully put him in the mix too, but Clayton Kershaw, the lefty, the great career. What a way to end it. Announces his retirement. They do the last dance thing. One last ride. He has the shirt off. He's partying. He's living it up. He's up in the bullpen ready to go. They don't need him, but he comes in the Game 3 game, gets an out in the 12th, and it gives the Dodgers an opportunity to live to fight to the 18th, and they get the win. Because that, in my opinion, was the deciding game. Even though I know the Dodgers were down 3-2 going back to Toronto, I said they're going to win Game 6. I said Game 7 is going to come down to will the experience and the factor of been there, done that championship DNA of the Dodgers against the inexperience and the emotion and the energy of the Toronto Blue Jays that they had with the crowd. The crowd was electric. Toronto wanted that championship. Drake wanted his revenge on Kendrick Lamar. But they squabbled up, and the Dodgers got it done. Back-to-back champs. Love Dave Roberts. Love Andrew Friedman. Love the ownership of the Dodgers. I think they should be celebrated. Mark Walter. They spend a lot of money, but they execute. A lot of teams spend money, but that money and payroll and free agents, high-price free agents, doesn't always pay off and equate to success. And with the Dodgers, it's equated to success, over a decade of winning the division, getting to the World Series the last 2 years, going back-to-back. Toronto, it's going to be interesting to see how they respond because they're on a tough division. They do spend money, and they have some really good young players. But like I said, Bo Bichette, I know, is like their biggest free agent. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep him. Remember, Toronto tried to get Otani, and he ended up going to New York. But I think Toronto, I don't know what they're going to do with Scherzer. He's not getting any younger. Bieber, I believe, is a free agent. So they got Barrios, who didn't pitch his best. They got Gosman. So they're going to have to get some production from an Anthony Santander, who was out of this series due to injury plague season. They're going to need him in that lineup, especially if they lose Bo Bichette. They're going to need to add another frontline starter. They're going to need to add another bullpen arm to go with Hoffman and Varland in that bullpen. I think Sir Anthony Dominguez, another free agent. So you trade for guys, you make moves on the trade deadline, and they look great. And you give up the prospects that you did have, and you get expiring contracts. Unfortunately, you go all in for a rental. You may only have them for a couple months, really. It's not even a full season. So you get them for 3 or 4 months, and that's all you got. You get to the World Series, which I thought Toronto were relative choke artists, and I didn't want to see them win the World Series before the Orioles, who have won since '83, as that drought continues and Toronto's continues for over 30 years. But I think I want to see history. You don't get back-to-back champs. It is so hard to repeat. You have to be lucky. You have to be healthy. things have to go your way. You have to be able to make those clutch plays. You have to be able to have the ball bounce your way. You have to be able to have a good play with the foot on the bag where he tags home. You have to be able to have those moments and the ball has to bounce your way. And it's so hard with traveling, going to Tokyo, and having a lot of veterans. It's a long season in baseball, the longest of any sport, 162 plus the postseason. So you look at what the Dodgers played, 162 plus what's that? We played what? Two against the Reds, that's 164. Then another four, 168, 172 with the sweep, 179 games. Like I said, they started in Tokyo, and they ended in Canada, and they are World Series championship again. Wonderful team. I love what they did. It was great for baseball. The game needed that. First World Series that goes to Game 7. I believe in like 7 years they get their ninth World Series championship banner. Second in a row, tied now for third all time with the Athletics, Red Sox. Cardinals have 11. Didn't know that. And then, of course, the Yankees with 27. Like I said, in my lifetime, probably won't probably won't see that broken, but I can see the Dodgers getting past the Cardinals. They could get 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 before it's all said and done in the next couple of runs they have. Like I said, Otani, Yamamoto, Sasaki, Freeman, Betts. They are going to have to add pieces, like I said, to that bullpen. They're going to probably have to add another starter as well. They're going to have to probably add another bat at the bottom of the lineup because they're going to need some more pop there outside of their top guys because a lot of teams now just pitch around Otani, Betts, and Freeman. And Hernandez really, and they force, the bottom third of the lineup. So they're going to have to add some more pop and production to the bottom of that lineup. And they're going to have to add, like I said, some more arms in the bullpen and another starter, but they don't mind spending the money, and I'm sure they will. And who doesn't want to go to LA? Who doesn't want to be in the wonderful, beautiful weather of LA with the women, the weed, the weather, the vibes, and have a chance to be and compete for a World Series championship and be coached and managed by the great Doc, Dave Roberts. I'm getting out of here, everybody. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I want to come on here and just talk about this World Series, talk about baseball. You guys know I love baseball. We cover the Orioles here on this channel. Check out Orioles content. We got the Orioles content. I did a video on Craig Albert as the new manager of the Baltimore Orioles. The more I hear, I like it. I was 50-50 because I didn't really know much about him, but the more I hear from people who know him and have been around him and know his style, I like it. It fits what the Orioles need to do and become a new voice, a change in philosophy, and I hope they allow him to do what he needs to do at his level. And Mike Elias and David Rubenstein and ownership spend the money that is needed. But nobody's competing with the Dodgers right now. We'll see how the offseason shakes out. We got GM meetings coming up, then winter meetings, free agency. We'll see what happens. Who goes where? Like I said, Bichette's a free agent. The Blue Jays have a plethora of older free agents as well. The Dodgers, I'm sure people will look to poach some of their pending free agents from them, so they may have to make some moves because they can pay everybody, but they won't. I'm sure they spend money, but they're responsible in their grand spending. They're boastful. They have a lot of money, but they're responsible in it that they continue to do things that will bring them a return and invest in the right players. So we'll see what both teams do. Right now the Dodgers will be my favorite in the NL, and the AL is once again going into 2026 going to be wide open. I know the Yankees will be back. They'll have some guys healthy, most notably Garrett Cole. They'll have Luis Hill back. Got the Red Sox in the mix. The Mariners, I think, will still be around if they can keep a lot of those guys. I'm not sure how many of those. Eugenio and Naylor is a free agent, though. I think Eugenio will be there, but I think Naylor's a free agent. So we'll see what they do. But it'll be interesting to see what Philly does. The Mets, Padres, Cubs. Padres need a manager. Brewers are always competitive. So we'll see. But the Dodgers are back-to-back champs. We are champions here on the Flex On Podcast. Your home for professional sports. Giving it to you how you want it, when you need it. We were live last night for WWE Saturday Night's main event. Watch that live stream. It was great content, great discussion as we head into John Cena's final match. We talked about that 16-man tournament. Dodgers back-to-back World Series champions. We'll be talking about this more on Monday on the Flex On Podcast, the flagship show. So definitely stay tuned for that as well, as we are the best of the best of the best. Happy Sunday. I know football's coming on today. We'll be live tonight. The Washington Commanders post-game show as they take on the Seattle Seahawks in prime time on Sunday Night Football. So stay tuned for that. We'll be here live and direct. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on the Dodgers going back-to-back. You love it, you hate it. Where do we go from here? And what do you think about the season that was? I think it was a great season. What did the O's need to do? What did the Dodgers need to do? Hit the bell, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell. I'm getting out of here. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate the love all year on the baseball content. We'll be back before you know it in February with spring training. We'll be covering it all throughout the offseason. Winter meetings, free agency signings, all that major happenings and things like that. We'll be covering it right here on the Flex Zone Podcast, your home for sports, how you want it, when you need it. God's favorite host, happy Sunday. Go Dodgers, go, as LA loves a sequel and goes back to back. We're getting out of here. Have a happy Sunday, everybody. Peace.